G'day everyone. A couple of days ago I went down for my daily allowable exercise walk. I walked down to the river behind my place through some paddocks and I found some fresh mushrooms. As we do in this day and age, I took a photo of my mushrooms and I put them on Instagram, and I was bombarded with messages and comments asking, how do you know which ones are the right ones? How do you know which ones aren't the poisonous ones? So in this video I'm going to explain to you how I know which mushrooms that I can pick and that I can eat. Right folks, now before I start, I just want to be really clear on one thing. I am not a mushroom expert. Some people actually study fungi for a job. I'm not one of them, but I do know a nice feed of field mushrooms when I see them. Now there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of fungi here in Australia, of which many are edible and of which some are not edible and are highly toxic. Particularly the death cap mushroom, which is aptly named death cap because it has the potential to kill people. One mushroom can kill an adult, so it's important we don't eat them ones. What I'm going to tell you today is the ones that I pick, and I only pick one sort, and that is the field mushroom. I don't pick the shiitake mushrooms if we even get them here, I don't know. I don't pick the fancy ones, I don't pick anything from under pine cones. I only ever pick and harvest the field mushrooms. Now these are some rules that I go by. I will not pick any mushroom from under a tree. No matter how good it looks, no matter how much it looks like a real mushroom, if it's under a tree, that's off limits to me. I'll only pick them from out in the open, in the field, away from trees. I believe the death cap mushroom grows under oak trees and maybe some other kind of species tree. I believe they only grow under trees, but I'm not 100% sure. From what I've read and what I've watched and what I've seen and the knowledge that I've gained, they do grow under trees. So by picking mushrooms out in the open, I'm eliminating that. Then when I'm out in the open, I want to make sure that the mushrooms I pick, as silly as it sounds, they've got to look like mushrooms and they've got to smell like mushrooms. So look at a mushroom at the supermarket, a nice big round mushroom that's nice and brown underneath and it smells like a mushroom. Duh. So out here, that's what I want them to do. If I pick it up and it looks like a mushroom, that's the first box ticked. I turn it upside down. The gills underneath the mushroom, they've got to be brown. They can range from light brown to dark brown. Generally, the younger the mushroom, the lighter the brown. And as it gets older and older and towards the end of its life, it becomes a really dark brown. But as long as it's brown and it's got a smell just like a regular mushroom, if it's out in the field, away from trees, if it looks like a mushroom, smells like a mushroom, then I'll give it a crack. Now, the biggest golden rule to anyone is, if you're in doubt, don't eat it. I found some mushrooms not far from here under a tree on the bank of the river down here a couple of years ago. They look like mushrooms, they smelt like mushrooms, but they were under a tree, so I didn't trust them. I was in doubt, so I didn't eat them. Now I've come down to the same spot that I picked the mushrooms a couple of days ago, and if I can find a couple of fresh mushrooms out in the open, I'll give them a crack. Although the temperature has cooled quite a bit, mushrooms like a bit of warmth in the air. They need moisture and warmth because they're a fungi, and that's just what they need. They don't necessarily need direct sunlight. They'll grow in low light. They'll grow in the dark, so I'm not worried about it being overcast, but the fact that the temperature's dropped, I'm not expecting to find any. But anyway folks, that's how I tell which mushrooms I should eat. They've got to look, they've got to be out in the open, away from all trees. They've got to look like white mushrooms. They've got to be brown underneath. They've got to smell like mushrooms. And folks, if you're in doubt, don't eat them at all. Go and buy some from the supermarket. They're not expensive. Alright folks, I'm going to see if I can find some mushies. Look at that. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look like a mushroom. I'm guessing it probably doesn't smell like a mushroom, and it's growing under trees. That's off limits. And just over here, there's another one. Look at the yellow gills. Look at the yellow gills. I would never in a million years eat that. For all I know, that might be edible. I don't know, but it's certainly not something that I would eat, and it's not something I would recommend anybody eating. What about these ones? They're the same shape as mushrooms. That's about all they've got in common though. They're bright orange, they're growing on the side of a dead tree. I wouldn't touch those with a barge pole. They look pretty. You've got something going for them, I suppose. Here we go folks, I've got a mushy. It's out in the open, it's away from the trees, it's white. It looks like a mushroom. Let's tip it up. Look at that nice light brown colour under there. That looks like a mushroom. It's brown. It smells very much like a mushroom. That is a mushroom. That is a good mushroom, and it's out in the open. Over here, just probably off camera, there's a weeny little button mushroom growing. Button mushrooms, that is probably going to be a really young one of them. If I break that open, you can actually see inside the really light brown gills. That is in the growing process, and had I not just pulled it down, within a day or two it would probably look like that. They're good mushrooms. I don't normally pick them, for the record, they're too small, but that's what that is. A button mushroom in the field is just the baby of one of these mushrooms. Now, I don't know whether I'll keep that. I'd need, if I can get half a dozen that size, I'll take them home. If not, I'll just throw it away. These things are called the gills. I never ever eat the gills off a white mushroom. I know there are some species that we can do it, but I don't, because I don't know which one's which. All I know is that that is a nice healthy field mushroom, and if it was to get bigger, it'll get a darker brown. Right, now that's where I just picked that mushroom. If you look here, you'll see I'm out in the open. The trees, the nearest trees are probably 20 or 30 metres that way. I'm not under trees. That is my #1 golden rule. Oh look, I just about walked past some. Here's some here. Quite often you'll find mushrooms in clusters. Look, they're getting a bit old. As they're getting older, they're getting darker in brown colour. But they're okay because they're out in the open. It doesn't matter if they're near cow poo, but I won't pick them if they're near logs. I don't want mushrooms from near timber. There you go, folks. They're a bit old. I'm not going to worry about them. You can still eat them. They're good, but they're harder to peel when they get old. So I'll keep me a good one. I'll leave them ones there for now. I also saw, I think I saw one over here somewhere before. There's not a lot of mushrooms in this area, but there are a few. Here's another one. We're still out in the open. We're closer to the trees, but we're a little bit, but we're still out in the open. That's very old. Look at how decayed it is. But look, that's a nice healthy mushroom. I can keep that. That's old. It's going to be harder to peel, but I reckon that one will be all right. So I'm going to keep them too. Those other ones over there would have been fine, but they're not perfect. Well, look, just while I'm talking, what's this under here? Another one, look. It's very old and frail, this one. But it's brown. It smells like a mushroom. Brown underneath, white on the top, out in the open. Good to go. Now you'll find some paddocks have some mushrooms, some have heaps of mushrooms, and some don't have many. I think that farmers that use fertilisers on their farms, like super, they generally don't seem to have mushrooms. It's more the natural land that's not worked so much where the mushrooms seem to grow the best. Rightio folks, I've only got a couple of nice mushrooms. There's not a lot around. We haven't had any rain for a week or two. I think it's a little bit cool. If we get another 23 or 24 degree day and a little bit of rain leading up to it, they might come back out. Because I've only got these two, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just throw them, I'll probably break them in half, break them up a bit. Then I'm going to, if I can film it, I don't know if I'm going to be able to film this or not, throw them all over the place in the hope that the spores disperse a little bit and propagate, so that when we get the right conditions, some more mushrooms will come up. There's not a lot in this area, but the fact there's a few tells me that this paddock's a good paddock. Alright folks, I hope you found this video informative, and I hope you know which mushrooms to pick. And just remember, as I said, if in doubt, just go to the supermarket and buy them when you know they're safe. Thanks very much for watching. If you've liked this video, why not give me a big fat thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.